Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026, and we will take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Oh, and look at that, Pam, we got to turn it on. The phone is off. Give it 30 seconds before you dial 888-658-0234. And to kick things off, meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
So I'm telling everybody to dial up the thingamabob, and the whatchamacallit over here isn't even on. I'm looking down, I'm like, oh, we really do have phones, and they're off. There we go. I gotta flip the doohickey in the back, and I gotta crank the carburetor, and it'll start. Good morning.
Yep,
So,
yep,
Mike,
yep.
did I see correctly that it's going to be like a gazillion degrees in Florida? We could actually, I say we because I live there part time. South
Mhm.
Florida could actually break a record today, right?
Yeah, it's really hot, and that's what we're going to start off with the extreme heat and humidity, Ken, that contributes to heat stress because we know it's humid down across the southeast, but when you factor in this much heat helping to make that humidity feel so much hotter, it's really going to be quite impressive. We'll start off with New Jersey with a little bit of sprinkle activity that rolled through across the state overnight. That's why the ground is probably wet. A couple of raindrops lingering this morning on the car tops. That's a weak front that's pushing through. That'll ultimately clear out by later today. Down across the southeast, big high pressure anchored off of the Gold Coast of Florida. And what that's allowing is for all of this heat and humidity to park itself there, giving portions of South Florida that dangerous to extreme level of heat and humidity combined. And that even stretches all along the Gulf, even back over toward Texas. So it's this large area of hot and humid weather that doesn't move even through tomorrow. Look at tomorrow's forecast that builds more across the south and then even across Florida, maybe a little bit of a break inland, but still that excessive heat and humidity continues with likely the records being set. And we'll talk more about that in just a bit, but just to show how unusual this is, even for August, we would expect it to be very uncomfortable with the heat and humidity this time of year, but to have that level is quite unusual, even if thunderstorms are developing, as you'd expect later on this afternoon. Across the Northeast, we're nice and dry today, but we even tap in to some of that unusual heat and humidity through the end of the day, even through tomorrow, with a few showers and storms working through overnight into Thursday. Likely see a little bit of wet weather come through across New Jersey with the last round of storms on Thursday afternoon. Friday clears out beautifully. The low will be just off to our south, and then we see the high pressure build in for the weekend, looking very pleasant. So with that clear sky all across the southeast, you get these thunderstorms that bubble up across the south, and that will keep that humidity quite high across Florida over the next several days. And speaking of the tropics, that Saharan dust is starting to lighten up a bit, so we'll likely see more activity over the coming days, although there looks like there's this big plume that occurs over the next few hours and days there across the Sahara. We'll talk more about those all those weather elements coming up, Ken, with another weather check in a few minutes.
Were you thinking of the word desert?
Yep, that was it. Desert.
Yeah.
Yep.
The only reason I was thinking of it is it sounds like dessert, and that's what's always on my mind. So here's the thing: if it keeps, we got to tell Pam the phone just turned off on its own. Gee whiz, why did that happen? All
Did
right,
you
we'll figure
crank
this
it
thing out.
hard enough, or
Yeah,
just
I
maybe a
gotta
little
I
bit of
gotta
an
put a
extra
little.
kick?
It needs more oil in the crankshaft. That's what it is. All right. So, and then it says it's not in session. All right. So people want to call now. They can't. Here, all this time we don't get calls and the system works. The time we're begging for calls, the system is off. So Pam will reset it, I'm sure. But we're going to get to a point where there's so much Saharan dust that blows
Mm.
over. You're going to go to the Sahara. It's just going to be a barren rock.
Uh, um, well, there's a lot of dust out there. A lot of dust, a lot of dirt, a lot of sand.
Gotta love
It's
it. Gotta
all
love it.
part of it.
And how it impacts the weather is fascinating. All
Yeah.
right, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. It is 74 degrees right now in northern New Jersey, 73 degrees in Trenton. Go to Los Angeles, it is 69 degrees, and it is already 83 degrees in South Florida. It's just a soupy. I will give you this because I live there part time and I used to live there full time. Right now, for the next like 2 weeks, this is the time you take a vacation in Alaska. I actually know Floridians who will go on vacation to the Carolinas right now, or they go to Canada or they go to upstate New York because it is not just the heat but the humidity that is just so oppressively dank, and it doesn't let up in the middle of the night, early in the morning. Our director, Pam, who doesn't like the heat to begin with, she would despise. Oh, Pam, did I hear you right? You're going to Florida in the next few days? Yeah. So Pam, the woman who would like to live in Anchorage for the rest of her life, she picks the week out of the year that Florida is even unimpressive to Floridians. There we go. Good job, Pam. All right. Hopefully it cools off by then. It is 5 minutes after the hour right now. President Trump reportedly, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Pause. Forgot our traffic. Forgive me. Let us go to I-80 right now. We had some issues, and of course, they just took it off. Right there is a congestion issue. It's not an accident. But this is a congestion issue, and this is by exit 34 area. You could see it's just a little bit slow, and they just reported that earlier. There is some fog, spotty fog throughout the area. So just be aware that a lot of people tapping the brakes as they go through the foggy areas. So that's what we have there. The other things, really just the Hudson River crossings. If you check the Holland Tunnel right now, that's already 25 minutes on Route 139. Look at the solid stop on the left side of your screen. That's the right tube that goes into, and that's backing up all the way to the turnpike. Same thing over at the Lincoln Tunnel. It's not as bad. It's only about 15 to 20 minutes in. This is going into the Helix. You can see it's heavy, but it is moving very, very slowly, 15 to 20 minutes in to the Helix. Your best bet, even though it too is heavy, GWB upper and lower levels moving at about 15 miles an hour. You can see the upper level on the right, lower level is on the left. To Los Angeles we go. We have a collision reported now in Baldwin Park on the 10 at Route 57. There is a missing elderly person in LA proper, city of LA proper. Remind you that it is 4:07 in the morning in LA. So if you see a missing elderly person just wandering about, call the police. Just assume that that is the person for whom they call the silver alert, but don't approach the person because that usually scares them. We have another missing elderly in Northridge. So just also same deal. Please call in the event, call police and let them know that there's an elderly person you see in the middle of the night. Not likely they'd be walking someplace at this time. It is 707 East Coast, 407 West. President Trump reportedly threatened military action against Oman if it interferes with U.S. negotiations with Iran. The United States and Oman are separately negotiating with Iran over reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The strategic waterway carries roughly 1/5 of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas. Iranian officials said that they were nearing an agreement with Oman regarding transit routes. Trump also claimed the U.S. maintains a back channel with Iran's Revolutionary Guard. An Iranian official denied that any such talks are occurring between the sides. The negotiations face uncertainty as an existing U.S.-Iran agreement approaches expiration. Oman maintained, as we just had an issue here with this. Oman has maintained neutrality while playing an important diplomatic role between Washington and Tehran. The Justice Department finalized a new process following some convicted felons to seek restored gun rights. Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the program Monday following pressure from Second Amendment advocates. Federal law has long allowed restoration petitions, but Congress blocked processing since 1992. The new system creates an online application process for eligible individuals. Officials say applications will be evaluated individually based on records, reputations, and public safety risks. So here's what you had. You had convicted felons who have constitutional rights, in spite of being convicted and sent to jail, who, because of the very anti-Second Amendment beliefs that the country has had since the 70s, 80s, 90s, they were told they could not have a gun. And, if they were convicted of murder with a gun, it kind of makes sense, right? But if you serve your time in jail and you come out, why shouldn't you now be allowed to reapply for a gun? And they weren't. However, the same liberals who said they shouldn't be allowed to get a gun said that even if they're in prison as felons, they should be allowed to vote. Why? Because they tend to vote Democrat. They do. It's like 93, 94% of convicted felons in several different polls, I'm not making it up, show that they vote Democrat. So, of course, the Democrats want them to be able to vote from prison. Meanwhile, the Democrats were doing nothing when votes of military members were getting held up, absentee ballots from overseas. They were doing nothing to speed it up or to hold things so those ballots could come in. Why? Because about 80% of all military ballots go Republican. It is so obvious, such an obvious joke. So here, because of the Supreme Court's recent decision on the Second Amendment being the Second Amendment, period, and it's been chiseled away and chiseled away and chiseled away, and they came back and said, no, the Second Amendment is very clear. And if you want to change it, you got to change it. You got to change it the same way the liberals want us to change the birthright citizenship deal. You want to change it? You got to get all the states to vote on it. Otherwise, you are born with a right to have a gun in the United States, period. Second Amendment says it. It doesn't say, well, except for that. It's amply clear. So what'll happen now is if you are a convicted felon, the gun is taken away while you're in prison, etc. When you get out of prison, you can apply for it once again. And then they'll evaluate it on a case-by-case basis. Obviously, if you were a mass murderer who killed hundreds of people with guns, obviously you will be somebody who likely will not be able to get their gun back. But if you are not that person, you probably will get a gun. In other news, 5 people were wounded in a shooting at Virginia State University early Saturday. Police arrested 19-year-old Cameron Harris, who was found hiding in a residence hall. He did not go to the school, by the way. One victim, a 21-year-old man, remained in critical condition following the shooting. 3 others suffered non-life-threatening injuries, while one student was later discharged. The university lockdown ended Saturday morning. It was a busy time, though. All the seniors were coming back to class, so the campus was packed with people staying overnight. Even because this happened early in the morning, you'd think there would be no big deal, but there were thousands of people on campus, and that caused quite a panic, as you can imagine. No word yet on what caused the shooting, why he came with a gun. It is 12 minutes after the hour. The House Ethics Committee confirmed an investigation into allegations involving Democratic Representative Jimmy Gomez. The bipartisan committee is reviewing allegations of inappropriate sexual contact with a House staffer. Officials emphasize that an investigation does not mean that something happened. They're just looking into it. You are innocent until proven guilty. Gomez kissed a younger aide during an incident in 2023. Now, it could have been innocent. It doesn't have to be, horrific. Maybe the person is doing this in order to gain some reason, whatever, or to get a job, or something nefarious did happen. So the whole point is it's got to be looked into. The committee reportedly discovered additional allegations while investigating the earlier claim. So we'll see what happens with Representative Gomez. And President Trump said the United States will substantially reduce military exercises with South Korea. We were supposed to have an all-out exercise in the waters off of North Korea and China. It's kind of meant to flex our muscle to them. But because President Trump got a request from the Koreas both to limit things, and because of what's going on in Iran, I think it's because of what's going on in Iran. Personal thought, we don't want to waste a lot of our military equipment, being that a lot of it's being used. So President Trump said, well, just to be nice to the Koreas, we're going to cut back on the exercises. Methinks it's because we used a lot of stuff. We gave a lot of stuff to Ukraine. We used a lot of stuff with Iran, and the president doesn't want to put us in a bad situation. And you know what? That's okay. That's all right. We know how to use our equipment. We don't need to blow off a lot of it. By the way, that's the way the military often gets rid of a lot of old stuff they want to get rid of to buy new stuff. They usually have exercises. That's a way of saying it's like blowing off fireworks. That's how they do it. The Supreme Court declined to reconsider President Trump's appeal in E. Jean Carroll's case. It was the second time the court refused to hear Trump's appeal. A federal jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation in 2023, which is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm not going to say it didn't happen. Can't say that because a jury found that it did. It did, so it did. It's just that when you look at the overall aspects of the case, if that case were tried in any court other than New York on the planet Earth, it would have been tossed out. It's because of a bunch of Trump haters in Manhattan, not because of any political leanings here. On its merits, on the surface, the case is ridiculous. A woman says, I was sexually assaulted. I don't know exactly where. I don't know exactly when. I don't know exactly how, but it was like 20-something years ago. It was by him. Of the 9 million people in New York, it was by him. Really. The people in the store don't believe they remember ever seeing him in their store. He doesn't hang out in the women's department where this allegedly occurred. You just got to wonder. Just had the worst attorneys and the worst court in the world in this case. But it is what it is. Like I said, the court said it happened. It happened. So we go with that. Selena Gomez and her mom are facing fraud allegations involving their mental health startup called Wondermind. Investors claim they invested nearly $1.2 million based on promises that never materialized. The lawsuit alleges the company misrepresented its infrastructure, leadership, partnerships, and financial prospects. Investors expected an app, podcast, editorial platform, and other mental wellness products. They also expected Gomez to play a significant marketing and publicity role. She's talked in the past about having had emotional stresses in her life, and it was thought that she'd be part of it, and none of that allegedly materialized. Co-founder Daniela Pearson also denied wrongdoing and said that financial records will support her claims. The investors are seeking cancellation of their contracts and financial damages through federal court. And a Phoenix air traffic controller prevented a potential disaster involving two American Airlines aircraft. Both planes were mistakenly operating under the same flight number, American 2482. So you can imagine what was going on here. The controller was saying, all right, 2482, you could enter runway such and such, and both were going the same way. That is insane. How does that happen in modern computer era? In a modern computer era, how? He maintained separation, thankfully, while the flight paths converged near Phoenix Airport. The departing aircraft was instructed not to climb too high, preserving a safety gap. So basically, that air traffic controller is a hero. Prevented a lot of people from being killed. And if you hadn't heard yet, actress Hayden Panettiere, known for Heroes and Nashville, has died at the age of 36. Beautiful, talented young woman. Her father announced her death Sunday, describing her passing as tragic. Panettiere was found unresponsive at an apartment where she had been temporarily staying. Authorities said an autopsy found no signs of trauma while her cause remains pending. She had been acting as an infant and appeared in numerous television shows and films. Her most recognized roles include Claire Bennett on Heroes and Juliette Barnes on Nashville. Panettiere also publicly discussed postpartum depression, addiction, including alcoholism, and the loss of her brother. So she had a lot of things in her life that impacted her emotions. Fellow actors, friends, and advocacy organizations remember her talent, compassion, and charitable work. May she rest in peace. Very talented person. I've met her many times. She used to come to ABC when I worked there, and she would be on the live show. She was a friend of Kelly Ripa, and it breaks my heart because she was a lovely person, and may she rest in peace. It is 18 minutes past the hour. When we return, we'll speak with a New Jersey children's author and illustrator who turned her own experience of putting a creative dream on hold into 5 published books. We'll be back in 2. And welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Tuesday, live in New Jersey and New York. And now we welcome Los Angeles. 15, make that 20 minutes past the hour. We'll take calls at 888-658-0234. We're having issues with the Pam. Yeah, she's working on the darn thing. It's not Pam's fault, not the I guess we throw the computer out. Let's just toss it out. That'll get it. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
Can't understand it, Mike. This thing is 2 years old. It's always worked, and now it's just like saying the show is not in session. I don't understand why. I'm very upset.
Straight to jail. Got to go to computer
I
jail.
think
That's
so.
it.
I think
Time
so.
is up.
CJ.
Uh-huh. That's it. That's it. The weather looking pretty decent over the next few days, Ken. Not exactly ideal for beach weather because there will be some clouds, very humid, but we get some more sunshine back in the forecasts by the time we get to this weekend, especially on Friday. I think the best day this week. We start off this morning with some clouds, even some sprinkles around. A lot of that due to a weak front passing on through. That'll keep us mostly cloudy for today, but you'll really feel that humidity. Now, is it associated with the heat down south? Well, the heat down south will continue to build over the next several days. You see it here over Florida with that extreme heat and humidity, and the big heat remains over the desert southwest today. That continues into tomorrow as that high drifts closer to the coast in California and keeps that heat chugging right along. As far as the southeast, the heat doesn't, and humidity that is, doesn't seem to quit even through the next few days. So as long as we're in this pattern, and we will be for at least a few days, we'll keep it rather humid here across New Jersey and bring back the threat of a passing shower or storm specifically on Thursday. I think we get through tomorrow pretty dry, but Thursday afternoon, right, our next round of storms that pushes on through, and that will ultimately clear out, giving us a beautifully dry Friday with the high pressure that builds in, making it a beautiful start to the weekend. Saturday looks okay. The issue is Sunday because look what happens here. This low pressure starts to slide backward and interact with this system coming in from the west, and that will likely give us some wet weather by the time we get to Sunday. So finishing out the week dry after a little bit of shower activity on Thursday, and once those storms pass on through, Friday's looking great. Beautiful start to the weekend. Saturday, just a few passing clouds. And here's Sunday. Look at all that rain that comes in early in the day, lasting through the afternoon. Probably going to be a washout with the amount of water that comes in. And then by Monday, we're back to beautiful dry weather, and we kick off, looks like the last week, full week in August, with some very dry conditions. So that's some good news. A little zoomed in here at a higher resolution. So it shows some of these clear skies for today into tomorrow, and then some passing clouds by the end of the week, especially for Thursday, with those storms coming in Thursday evening. So likely get rocking and rolling with another round of storms here across New Jersey later on this week, specifically Thursday afternoon. So be prepared for that, Ken.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Indeed, we will. Already feeling, I mean, we feel the stickiness here, but I'm just looking
Mm-hmm.
down at South Florida and the temperature's already there. That is uncomfortable. That is really
Yeah.
uncomfortable there. So, I mean, LA is going to be hot too, but it's not quite as humid, right? LA doesn't get that
Oh yeah,
humidity
it's
like that.
dry out there, very dry, because those
Right.
winds coming over the Santa Ana Mountains, they dry it out right away.
So it's the dry heat, like they say.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot, but it's a dry heat.
It's
You
still
could you
hot.
could you could say it's still hot. You feel it. It's like opening an oven door. But in
Uh-huh. Right.
Florida, it's like going into a steam room. It's really, really uncomfortable right now. And even the swimming pools are overheated. You don't really cool off. Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh. You got to say ugh. I don't care what your ethnicity. That deserves an ugh. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. We will check back, sir. It is currently 76 degrees already. Wow. In northern New Jersey, 73 Trenton. It is 69 in Los Angeles, but of course, it's only 4:24 in the morning there. But it is 83 in South Florida, going up to 99 degrees there. Unreal. Well, sometimes the dream that we think we miss is actually the dream waiting for the right moment. Frumi Gans is a New Jersey children's author and illustrator who turned her own experience of putting a creative dream on hold into 5 published books, including her latest, Right on Time, The Little Red-Headed Girl Who Thought She Missed Her Moment. And she joins us to talk about second chances, following your dreams, and the message she hopes to share with children. Good morning, Frumi.
Good morning, Ken. Thank you for having
Good
me.
to have you on. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. I love your name, and I love the name of the book
Thank you.
too, and the whole concept. It's just a very sweet concept. You were accepted at the Fashion Institute of Technology, FIT, at 17. That's a big deal. But your career took a different path. So what happened?
What happened? Yes, my career took a different path, and later I found my way back to creativity and my voice. And that's when I started writing and illustrating children's books. But yes, it has always been a big dream of mine to become an artist, and it was on hold for many years.
And it's one thing to write a children's book, and it's another thing to illustrate. So, were you, being that you were in the art world, did the illustrative abilities come naturally to you?
So, I've always been a cartoonist and I started drawing at a
Ah,
very young age. But what I do see different today is, at 17, even though I knew how to draw, I didn't have yet what to give. And that's where it's different for me today.
gotcha, gotcha. So, when you decided to go in this direction and write the children's books, did you think that that was your future? Did you realize that you'd end up with a series of books, or was that something that sort of evolved?
So when I started my first book, which nobody knew, I kept it a secret. I didn't tell my family. I just made a decision that I was going to talk about that I always had this dream and I didn't get to fulfill it. Once I published it, I knew this was what I was meant to do, and I decided I'm going to do a series.
Gotcha. And when you did this, publishing a book was still a feat, right? You had to get a publisher to publish it, to take the chance. It's investing money. There's money involved in that. Today, it's sort of different. I know a lot of people who can go online. There are services that, self-publish and whatnot. So, like everyone I know who's had a child has attempted to write a children's book with their child's name or whatever. It's not the same thing. With all due respect to all my friends who have children who wrote their own, I put that in air quotes, children's book. It is not the same thing. It usually doesn't tell a story and have a theme like yours do. And your latest book, Right on Time, is inspired by your own journey. So talk about the story that is behind that journey.
Okay, happy to. So that was almost like a light bulb moment for me. I just woke up one day and I always thought that I missed my moment. And then I started to realize that all the years that I thought were wasted were actually preparation for where I am today. And I think dreams happen when we're ready to carry them.
That's interesting. So everything in its time, right?
Everything in its time. It's got to be the right time.
That's right. And what do you hope that children take away from the message that it is never too late?
I hope they take a lot of my messages in the book, besides It's Never Too Late, to believe in themselves, um, dream big, be kind, be brave, and mainly always be you. And I think these messages, should be taught to children at a very young age.
Otherwise, they get a sense of always being pressured, right? When they feel like I should be this way right now. Why is my friend, even like think of adolescence? Why is my friend going through adolescence now and I'm not? They may not say adolescence, but they'll say that they're going through changes. Why is my friend understanding math and I'm not? Kids all evolve at a different rate, right? At a different pace. And this is good for them to understand that it's okay for you to evolve at your own pace in your own time is a good thing. That's a great message. You've now written and
Thank you.
illustrated 5 books. So why has the journey taught you about believing in yourself?
Probably because I didn't always believe in myself. One of the couple of things that publishing taught me was to listen to my own voice, to understand that I am good enough. And I think that my words matter to others. And that was probably a very big surprise for me.
I love it. What is a website for me for people to find your books?
My books are found on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles in three formats, actually, in paperback, Kindle, and I've created 5 audiobooks as well.
I love it. I love it. Audiobooks are
Thank
great.
you.
I've discovered audiobooks only recently myself because I do a lot of like 90-minute road trips. And what a wonderful way to get in a book. At first, I used to frown on audiobooks, and now I love them. Her latest book is called Right on Time, The Little Red-Headed Girl Who Thought She Missed Her Moment. Rumi Gans, come back again, please. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Have a great day. 30 minutes past the hour. Phone lines are going to be open. Let's see if they're open yet. Nope, they're not open yet. All right, they will be open. They will be open. Well, I'm not even going to get at the number. It's like a tease. And meteorologist Mike Favetta with a forecast near you. Hot in LA, super hot and sticky for our friends in Florida, and not as bad in New Jersey. Is actually the best of the three. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. We're back in 2. Very good morning. 33 minutes past the hour, Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato, live on the East Coast and the West, and our friends in Florida. Welcome to you too. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has a sticky hot forecast for the Floridians in just a moment.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
Boy, oh boy, Mike, if you were to draw a distinction of the 3 regions of the country where we have channels
Hmm.
and how different they are right now, it's amazing. You have baking heat on the West
Right.
Coast, sticky, humid, soupy steam in
Hmm.
South Florida and
Yeah.
much of the state, and then an average late summer day in the Northeast.
Uh-huh. Ken,
There,
it was
do I get
9.
my junior weather badge?
You do, you do. Good job, good job, good job. But I was going to mention, this is rough. Like, I remember going down 9 years ago this month, drove down to Key Biscayne and thought, oh, it'll be a nice beach day, right? Oh my gosh. August in Miami is horrendously humid, brutal. The water in the ocean felt like a bathtub. Wasn't even refreshing. It was just hot.
Yeah.
It was like it was gross, and you couldn't cool off. You were just sweating all day long, all night long. So yeah, this is the type of
I
weather
had
that.
there are certain beaches in South Florida
Hmm.
that are, believe it or not, because Florida is the deep South, they are historically black beaches that
Hmm.
literally African Americans who lived there could only go to certain beaches. And that happened right into the early part of the 20th century, sadly, is part of our history. But those beaches happen to be some of the more beautiful beaches in all of
Mm-hmm.
South Florida. And I remember, and of course, now I'm forgetting the name, but somebody will tell me. Um, taking some cousins who were visiting about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, visiting us in South Florida, Chris and me. And we went to this particular beach because of its history and everything else. We wanted to take
Right.
pictures there. And it was around this time. The sand, you even wearing shoes, you
Mm-hmm.
could feel the rubber on the flip-flops getting
Oh,
soft. That's how hot the sand
wow.
was. And the ocean temperature, the surf temp was 96 degrees. I didn't think it could get that hot.
That's
So it was,
unreal.
yeah, 96. So it was
Yeah.
actually like you put your toe in the water, you went, ah, it was actually hot. Hopefully you didn't make it sound as effeminate as I just did. But you dipped your toe in the water and it wasn't just uncomfortable. It was
Yeah.
hot. It was
Right.
almost as hot as having the tap water too hot on your hand. It
Right.
was
Right.
awful,
Yep.
awful. So
Yep.
that's why
Understood.
I say, and that we know statistically and historically, prior to air conditioning, South Florida didn't have much of a population until the 40s, and that's when it started to blossom. You really couldn't live there year round prior to then.
Mm-hmm. No, no, no. It's really uncomfortable. And even out west, where that heat builds as well, out toward Vegas, out toward Southern California, this is the time where I remember the key card melted for the hotel. You picked it up out
Mhm.
of the pool, you left it in the sun, it just kind of drooped. Yeah, because that's it
Oh
got to
my
like
God.
120 degrees in the afternoon. Remember, air temperature is measured in the shade. If you're in the sun and you leave your phone or any sort of material in the sun, yeah, it could be exposed to that heat and change form rather quickly and you
Yikes.
might melt yourself, especially going out in this kind of heat. So today, with the humidity in New Jersey, yes, it is very uncomfortable, even though there's still a decent amount of clear sky developing for this afternoon. We start off cloudy this morning, had a little bit of rain last night, a couple sprinkles around, but out west, you see all of this clear sky down in the desert southwest, and that's where that heat will continue to build throughout the course of the day today. So a lot of the rain showers over the last few days have been, say, central Florida and north, and most of the dry weather is along the south and west coast. But even along the Gulf Coast here and portions of, say, the Space Coast, the Gulf Coast, and down toward Miami, watching a little bit of that thunderstorm activity each afternoon. The tropics, however, remain quiet for now. We may see some activity in the next few days, but for now, we're quiet. So out west we go, where that high pressure is in control, allowing for a lot of heat and humidity to develop, even where the winds are blowing over the mountains, allowing for the drier air down toward the coast, but there's still enough of moisture there through portions of Arizona, especially toward the higher elevations out toward Flagstaff, where you'd find a little bit more of that heat building through the course of this week. Down toward the coast there, down along the Southern California area, that's where the dry weather remains, and it remains very hot over the next few days. So, with the heat building as we head into the last few days of August, I know I can't believe it. Already August 18th, looked at the calendar, didn't believe it. There will still be plenty of hot weather ahead, even I think as we head into September. We'll take a check of what happens long term going into the next 2 weeks, taking us into September with the climate outlook, see if there's any relief on the horizon, Ken, with your next weather update.
All right, sir. Well, we have a little time to kill here, so
Mm,
I thought that, those national day calendars. Today is like national, like 20 different things day,
right.
and one of the things it is National Fajita Day. Can you recall when you first saw, smelled, or heard the sizzle of a
Yeah.
fajita, where you were and what restaurant it was?
I think it was one of those fast chain restaurants. I think they're out of business now. But it was,
You're
they
right.
bring out the platter. Yeah, they bring out the platter, and it was almost like a theatrical production when the waiter or the runner would come over with the sizzling cast iron, plate and all of the juices sizzling on top of it and the steam coming out and, put it in front of you. And it was like, wow, so fancy.
I love that. It was for me, it was TGI Fridays. And
Yeah,
they're
I think that
basically they're
was it.
gone. I think it was TGI Fridays was the first
Hmm.
time I ever heard of a fajita. And of course, We're all sitting around. Oh, you had okay, I know, but Tejas is just a local thing, isn't it? Is Tejas there are a few, but is that a national chain? I don't even know. It could be. Pam is saying she had her first one at Tejas, and of course Chili's makes a great one. But I remember we were all sitting around having a burger, very boring burger, and all of a sudden you hear the psst,
Yeah.
and you could smell the charred meat. And it smelled so damn good, and we're like, "Ooh, what's that? What's that?" It's
Uh-huh.
always the person who gets that is always the one at the table who everybody goes, "Ooh, ah," because it's such a
Well, they
presentation.
say you
And
eat with your
yeah,
eyes first, and they really took advantage of that.
yes, they did. It says here fajitas were created in the 1930s by Mexican ranch workers, vaqueros. Vaqueros means cowboys, along the Rio Grande border in South Texas. And as part of their pay, workers received skirt steak. And if you're into cooking, you
Hmm.
know skirt steak is tough. It's like rubber. So whenever you have cuts of meat or fish that are could be tough, there are two ways to cook them. And you probably know this, right? You either cook them in 2 seconds or cook them in 2 hours. Anything in between, they're just rubber or leather.
Yeah.
Shrimp, perfect example. You either drop them in at the last second and serve, or you cook them in like a stew, like a bouillabaisse for
Hmm.
2 hours. Otherwise, shrimp are just hard as a rock. Same thing with skirt steak. Skirt steak was a cheap cut, it was a throwaway cut. It was meant for the cowboys, the ranch hands. And they would cut little bits of it, do it a quick sear at the end, and that's where the sizzling fajita came from.
And now,
Fascinating
because it's
stuff.
so popular, somehow it's $28 a pound in the supermarket. So
Ah,
it
and
became
that's true.
very, very
It's
popular.
it's such a delicious cut of
Yeah.
meat. It's such a delicious cut, and it's you just have to get used to the texture because it could be a little off-putting if you have never had it before. That little bit of a chew, but I think the flavor, especially the fact that you could marinate it,
Hmm.
um, is just so delicious. The other thing is today is National Ice Cream Pie Day, and Pam, our director, was saying, "What is an ice cream pie?" I love that for those of you who are of a certain age, um, before Carvel came out with the ice cream cake, and to my knowledge, it was Carvel. I don't remember any ice cream cake prior to Carvel. We had ice cream pies when I was a kid. So they were big in the 50s and 60s when home cooking, like home economics, became a thing. The
Hmm.
ice cream pie was big in America. I think it's strictly and purely an American invention. And it was easy. You could buy a pie crust, one of those graham cracker pie crusts in the store already made. Take your favorite ice cream, leave it out, soften a little bit, just put it in, smooth it out, dump on a little bit of whipped cream, put a cherry on it, throw it in the freezer for a little bit, and then take it out, and boom, it looks like you're an amazing cook. And I think that's where the ice cream pie came from. But the ice cream cake didn't come out for another 20 to 25 years. Do you remember having ice cream pie, or are you strictly an ice cream cake guy?
I is mostly always ice cream cake, especially with the layer of crunchies, that like the Carvel Classic, that was always the thing. Ice cream pie, I don't know, kind of foreign. Anytime I think of pie, it's mostly with a filling like
Right.
apple, pumpkin, blueberry, etc.
Yeah. And by the way, if people who think they don't like pie, who only have an experience of the boxed pies with their goopy, nasty, artificial tasting filling, I'm serious. If that's your only knowledge of what pie is, you haven't
Mm-hmm.
experienced pie. The,
True.
certain things you could buy pre-made, cookies, some of them pass. Some of them are okay.
Right.
Pies, I have never, ever tasted a boxed or even a frozen pie that came close to a fresh pie. They don't, they're two different animals. And
Yeah.
if you have a freshly made apple pie, a freshly made pecan pie, or sweet potato pie or something. Now it's only a few months away to Thanksgiving. Think about it. It's not too far. You have that versus those boxed pieces of crap. They're nasty. They're
Yeah.
nasty. You will say, "Oh, I suddenly love pie." And with only a few seconds left, it is National Pinot Noir Day, sir. Are you a
Ah.
vinophile?
Absolutely. I am the peak oenophile going into harvest season, right? It's around the corner. Actually
That's
just
right.
digging out, through the move, when we move bottles so many times from place to place. I'm like, "Ooh, where's this one from?" It's a 9-year-old bottle. I just lost it, somewhere in the back. So it's nice to like discover some new wines and some older ones too. Love the line from Sideways that Paul Giamatti is famous for, about Pinot Noir, how it's a thin-skinned, temperamental grape,
Yeah.
and it needs a lot of care and attention in order to grow well.
Yeah, I stopped drinking many, many years ago. But if you were to sample wines, especially red wines, because white wines are not really wines, and if you're a vinophile,
No.
white wines are soda. If you
Oh,
want
that's
a
so
wine, a
tense.
good wine, well, that's a dessert. Well, that's a different class. I'm talking about like with a meal. The grades are you start at Pinot Noir, right? That's the lightest, and it's great with a good steak. Pinot Noir is
Mm,
wonderful. Then you work your way into a Merlot, which is somewhere in between. And there are some great Merlots, and there's some really bad Merlots. And then you have to know your brands for a fabulous what's
Cabernet.
oh my Cabernet, thank you. Sauvignon, my God, or Sauvignon, Cabernet Sauvignon. You got to know your brands. See, it's been so many
Mm,
years, I'm forgetting. But you get a great aged Cabernet with an oak finish smell, and that's almost worth having unto itself. That's when you want a
mm-hmm,
great glass of wine. You have a
mm-hmm.
Cabernet. You don't have a Pinot Noir or Merlot because they're just if you're just having a glass of wine to enjoy it as a thing, go for a
Yeah.
great Cabernet. Oh, wonderful. Those. That's the only thing I miss about those days. Is drinking wine
You could
for the
still sip and
yeah.
spit. I mean, it's not like, okay. All right.
Yeah, I have a heart issue, and I literally think about it. My atrial fibrillation causes my heart to flutter, so that's the end.
Okay.
We don't need that. Call an ambulance while Ken's on set. But listen, that doesn't stop anyone else. Enjoy it. All right, Mike. Always a pleasure chatting, sir. We will be back in just a couple of minutes after the break. It is currently 73 also in Trenton, 69, nope, 70 now. Los Angeles, 71, San Diego, and it's already 84 degrees in South Florida. And when we come back, Meta is heading into what's being called a potentially seismic legal fight in California over claims it designed Facebook and Instagram to be addictive for kids. We're back in two. And welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is 49 minutes past the hour. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast in your city.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
And good morning, sir. A sticky day in the south, a baking day in the southwest, and just in the Northeast.
Yeah, a little bit of cloud cover to start the day here in New Jersey. However, there's a little bit more clear sky on the way by this afternoon. But like you had mentioned, down across the southeast, all of that humidity persists. We'll tap into some dry weather by the time we get to Friday, and in that time, it'll dry out very nicely. Saturday looks clear, but Sunday brings back another shot of some wet weather to wrap up the weekend on a pretty wet note before clear sky takes over to start off next week. And then it looks pretty dry for the start of next week. So until then, again, we see some clearing later today. Much like the last few days, it starts off cloudy in the morning, then clears out by the afternoon. And then as we head into Thursday, that's our next opportunity for some clouds and wet weather with some rounds of rain. I think all of this cloud activity clears out for Friday, leading to a beautiful Saturday, and then slightly cooler weather into the start of September. That's just for the Northeast. Everywhere else in the country, look at that heat persisting down across Florida, even out toward the west, with that hot, unusually hot weather lasting at least through the first day of September, and then into the end of August, slightly wetter than average conditions taking over across much of the east with below average precipitation down south. But we've basically ended our drought in New Jersey, which is some great news considering how much rain we've received this past summer, Ken.
Fascinating stuff. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. It is 75 degrees now in northern New Jersey, 73 in Trenton, and 71 now Los Angeles, 71 also San Diego. Meta is heading into what's being called a potentially seismic legal fight in California over claims that it designed Facebook and Instagram specifically to be addictive to kids. Opening arguments begin tomorrow. The stakes could be enormous. Brandon digital strategist Fisher, whose handle is @Fisher on X and Threads, and his website is fisher.media. He joins us now to explain. Good morning, Fisher.
Good morning, Ken.
So this is a big deal. Why is this happening now? What are the chances California will win against Meta? And what would it mean if California does win?
Those are a lot of great questions, Ken, and hopefully I can answer them all. And the trial does start today. I might have wrote that wrong for you, but it does start today. It's co-led by California AG Rob Bonta, and it involves a coalition of 29 state attorneys general. The case centers on allegations that Meta designed Facebook and Instagram in ways that foster addictive behavior in children and teens, and that the company misrepresented the safety of its products. I don't know what safety, but it's in there. The lawsuit, originally filed in 2023, claims violations of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act and various state consumer protection laws. Just weeks earlier, Meta lost a related case in New Mexico, resulting in nearly $1 billion in payments and some required changes to age assurance tools. Now, states' lawyers have suggested damages could reach around $200 billion with a B dollars. Meta's attorneys have previously warned that the figure could go as high as $1.4 trillion. Beyond money, the states are seeking permanent nationwide injunctive relief, including deletion of under 13 user data, that's under 13 years old, their user data, and the algorithms trained on it, plus removal of various features such as infinite scroll, autoplay, something, Ken, that you like, beauty filters, and other engagement optimized algorithms. Meta has called the claims unsubstantiated and financial demands vastly disproportionate, while arguing the state's lack of proof of specific harm and the targeting of industry-wide issues like age verification. So Meta's not down with it. Of course, the decisions will be negotiated down. That's a lot of money, $1.4 trillion that Meta would have to pay. But there'll definitely be some changes, probably nationwide, to some of these issues that get trained on. Again, you're training on data of minors, right? So I think that's really at the crux of it. And then you're feeding, based on that training, you're feeding stuff to them that just keeps the teenagers in the app longer.
Well, I can understand when you look at the app and the fact that, and we all know we've done doom scrolling, they've called it, and
Oh.
you start on the app and you think to yourself, oh, I'll just look at one or two things here. It'll just help put
And
me
then
to
it's
sleep.
5 a.m. Yeah.
And you wonder, oh my God, I've just wasted hours of my life that I'll never get back. What's going on? But I mean, if it's set up that way for adults, then clearly kids can't be that far off
Mhm.
from in terms of being addicted. I am just looking for something
Yep.
desperately on the phone here as I waste time
Well,
talking
the
here.
best thing that has
But oh,
happened to
here,
me is that my Instagram account has been banned for violating their terms and conditions. There you go. It's you in a tight shirt. Look at you behind a microphone.
look at that, look at that chest. Isn't that incredible? I mean,
That is amazing what beauty filters and AI do. That is great.
considering I've never lifted a weight in my entire life, I think that's pretty
I can
amazing
attest
that
to
I was
that.
able to.
You one
I
time
was able
lifted a
to.
package without bending your knees. I saw that, but
Yeah,
that's
it was
about
a
it.
DoorDash package. It was
Yep.
fudge sundaes that came from a local
If
ice
you could
cream
say
place.
that it was an Uber Eats package, you could transition into the next story nicely.
It was an Uber Eats package.
Perfect.
Also, Uber is teaming up with a drone company called Zipline and setting a big goal: 1 million Uber Eats drone deliveries a day by the end of
Yep.
2029. Service starts in Houston and Dallas later in the year. Is that true?
Please take all the story. Yes, the drone delivery company is called Zipline, and yeah, as you said, I'll skip down to line 3. Actually, I'll skip down to line 4. This marks the first time that Zipline's drone delivery will be fully integrated into a major retailer's app. Currently, if you want to use Zipline services, you need the separate Zipline app. The partnership is part of Uber's broader push to build a hybrid delivery network that combines human couriers, sidewalk robots, and drones. Uber already has existing drone partnerships with Flytrex in Dallas and a company in Ireland, plus more than 30 autonomous vehicle partners across its businesses. Zipline, which started by delivering medical supplies in Rwanda, already serves U.S. customers, including the Cleveland Clinic, Walmart, and Chipotle, and the deal comes as other players scale drone delivery. Amazon aims for 500 million packages by the end of the decade, while Google's Wing is expanding rapidly with Walmart and others. I was telling Pam before you guys took me that the Walmart by me delivers packages. So my neighbors, I'm standing outside with Dexter as he pees. Dexter is a dog, by the way, just not a random person in my backyard that pees. And then you just hear the you see the drone come over and lower the package, and then the little hoist goes up, and then the thing takes off like Independence Day, where the aliens are skirting away. But yeah, it's pretty wild to see.
And for those wondering, the way they don't drop the package unless you get on the
No.
app. And you
Mm-mm.
have to get on the app and say package here, boom, and you tap.
And they don't
That's
drop
how it
them.
works.
It comes down in a
Right.
little
But
thing, or it lands in your backyard or front yard, and it'll open and the package will nicely come out. And they
it
deliver
won't.
eggs and milk and things like that.
Right. But it will not open unless you communicate that, yep, it's here. Boom. Because
Mhm.
I've seen a friend do it and it's amazing. Because that's the first thing I thought is, what if somebody steals your package? It's actually safer to get it delivered by drone than to have a guy leave it on your front porch and have porch
Yeah,
fire
you
instead.
pick drone delivery, so it's not like you're a normal delivery with Amazon. You're just picking delivery and it comes when it comes in the window. This is saying you want to pay extra for the quicker delivery because you're making a pie or a cake and you need milk and eggs
Right.
and apples and things of that sort. So you know it's on the way and they tell you it's leaving now. But it's wild. I'll send you a picture of the drone landing area at the nearby Walmart. There's just a guy in a shack that gets the packages from the store and then loads it up in the drones, and then they take off and drop them down.
Well, we did the story a couple of months ago
Hmm.
with the pizza. There's now a company
Yep.
locally that is now delivering pizza by drone. And the amazing thing is, because pizza, after a couple of minutes, it's not the same quality once it gets cool. So any other
Unless
kind
it's
of
in the
delivery
morning
by
after
the
a late night.
yeah, it's a whole different story. That's you eating something cold and with holes in your socks, and I don't even want to imagine that. But the whole thing with the pizza, you want it to be, within 5 minutes. You got to have that
Yeah.
hot, fresh, melty. That experience still happens. And as you said, if you're in the middle of cooking something, nobody can get the product to you faster than a
Hmm.
drone. Because
Yep.
anybody else, even if you drove to the store and back, by that point it's an hour later. But if they
Yep.
go to deliver, it's half an hour later. If a drone comes, it's 10 minutes.
Yep.
Nothing
And
can get it to you faster.
right, and it's as the crow flies, so it's not on a road in any way. And then I'll add this final piece. As Pam said, "Oh, I haven't seen them in my neighborhood." You will. Like,
Yeah.
that's you are going to see and hear these things all over the place. It's going to be wild because if Amazon's doing it and Walmart's doing it, and there are other delivery companies like the local pizza place, it will be. And right now, it's usually drone delivery is under 8 pounds, I think, is the number. But
Right.
the bigger the drones, the more stuff that they can deliver.
See, my fear is when the first drone drops a package because of high winds or something, and somebody
Mhm.
gets hurt, God forbid.
There's
That's when it's
there
going
are
to be.
regulations as to how when they can fly and how they can fly and what conditions and all. So hopefully that they are stuck to, if
I
that's the
hope.
proper way to say
But
that.
you know, things evolve. Things evolve. We'll see where it goes. We're going to say, remember back when they had rules? We'll see. We'll see where it goes. All for convenience. All right, Fisher. Thank you very much. And that is, of course, Brandon Digital Strategist Fisher. Be found at Fisher on X and Threads and through his website, fisher.media. We always love having you on, buddy. See you again next week.
See you next. Yep.
You bet. For those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news. If you're watching on New Jersey, we'll be right back live with New Jersey news, opinion, weather, and traffic. Thanks for watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. All right, good morning. It's 8:03, Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. Welcome back. This is Mornings with Ken Rosato on New Jersey Mornings, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
All right, Mike. So the Northeast is actually probably going to be the best off in terms of heat.
It's true. Yeah, even though there's a little bit of noticeable humidity, palpable as soon as you step out the door, Ken. We start off the morning with very muggy weather. Temperatures only in the 70s, low 70s, but it's the humidity that basically matches that. And the dew point holds in the low 70s, which means the air is pretty much at saturation, which is why there's some fog around across most of New Jersey this morning. Temperature is a few degrees warmer than this time yesterday, but it's the clearing high in the sky that's allowing for that fog to develop early this morning, even with a few sprinkles that rolled through earlier today. So with some breaks in the sun, we actually make it up into the upper 80s with that very humid feel lasting through the afternoon. Shouldn't spark off any storms, but there will be a clearing later on this evening that will allow for very pleasant weather to take over into the end of the week. Have to make it through some rain tomorrow, another day filled with clouds, more humidity, very muggy weather, and then by Friday, we're back to beautiful dry conditions. It'll really look pretty all day long, probably the only day this week that we have gorgeous weather, because by Saturday, back to some showers early on in the morning, and that will likely lead to a wet finish to the weekend with some more rain on the way. So after today, which clears out nicely, but it does get hot, some storms on the way for tomorrow, pretty wet. Friday looks beautiful, but the weekend, kind of wet yet again. We'll talk more about that in detail coming up with another check of your forecast in a few minutes, Ken.
All right, Mike. And and listen, if we pay a little more money instead of a forecast, can we get a five cast?
Yeah, six cast.
Eh, this is why I'm old. I should be doing dad jokes, even though I'm not a dad. There you go. All right, Mike, we appreciate you, sir. We'll check back. It is 75 degrees already, northern New Jersey, 74 in Trenton, and it is now 71 degrees Vineland. No, 74 degrees Vineland, 71 degrees in Cape May. Excuse me. In terms of traffic, we have an incident to tell you about. Let's go over to the Turnpike, shall we? And this is we got two things on the Turnpike now. We have a crash on the Turnpike westbound entrance ramp by the Goethals Bridge exit to interchange 13 Elizabeth with the left lane blocked. You could see what's going on there as everybody's headed in that direction. Also, there's a crash on the Turnpike just happened. Eastern Spur northbound, north of interchange 15 WI 280 in Kearney. All lanes open, but things are slow now. Route 10, we have a crash investigation, both directions in the vicinity of Murray Road in East Hanover. All lanes closed eastbound. And it says, yeah, now closed westbound as well. So that's a mess. That's Route 10 through Murray Road in East Hanover, all closed up. So just avoid that area altogether. Looking at the Hudson River crossings right now, the Holland Tunnel approach is bumper to bumper. It's been that way all morning long. Look at those. Look at that line, the double line of or triple line of cars going in. That backs up about 1.5 miles to the New Jersey Turnpike on Route 139. It's going to take you about 45 minutes in. Over to the Lincoln Tunnel, not much better. That's been a mess this morning. Usually the Lincoln is not as bad, hasn't been as bad. But look at this. And there's no reason for it. There's no accident. This is purely volume going into the helix. Even the bus lanes are going slowly. So I wonder what's going on. And maybe there's something going on in Manhattan. All it takes is like a broken down car on 40th Street, somewhere a couple of blocks in Manhattan. And everybody slows down into New Jersey because you're trying to get around that car. Everything whittles down to 1 or 2 lanes in Manhattan, and that's what you get. And then you could see some drizzles hitting the camera lens. Little areas of patchy fog still this morning around. It's a damp morning. And then over to the GWB upper and lower levels, very heavy, very slow, but moving at least. That is reported at 40 minutes in. You could see it doesn't look that bad, but once you get beyond the camera, which is pointing to the west, once you get beyond that, everybody headed east. You could see the trucks slowing down. The trucks are going to the upper level, the cars on the left going to the lower level. It's going to cost you about 35 minutes in. 7 minutes after 8 o'clock, a New Jersey man faces charges after allegedly crashing into 2 police vehicles in Clifton. If you're going to have a crash, not 1, but 2 police vehicles. Oy. The crash happened early Sunday morning, Route 21 near River Road. Police say Matthew Cancel, yep, that's probably what's going to happen to the license, struck patrol cars blocking a lane during another crash investigation. Not unusual. When you see the flashing lights, people tend to veer in that direction. That's why they tell you if you see police off to the right, you are supposed to now get over a lane to prevent exactly that. So you're supposed to move left. Do everything you can. And the rule now is if you can't get over to the left, slow down by 20 to 30 miles an hour to prevent this. That's exactly what happens. So you because people look, they're fascinated. Everybody's like, oh, look at the lights, the flashing lights. And they don't realize once you turn your head, you start drifting in that direction and boom, he hit 2 police cars. So one officer suffered a head injury. The other jumped over a barrier to escape. Cancel's vehicle and 1 police car caught fire, as you saw following the collision. 2 passengers were inside Cancel's vehicle. 1 suffered a shoulder injury, and authorities charged Cancel with assault by auto, DWI, and other offenses. That's going to be a big deal if he gets a DWI conviction. Right now, he's just charged. In other news, New Jersey Supreme Court ruled that Jamar Myers must withdraw his felony murder guilty plea. The decision followed an illegal search that undermined part of his combined plea agreement. Myers was convicted for participating in robberies, including one involving a fatal shooting. Police discovered cash, a handgun, and clothing during the disputed vehicle search. The court previously determined officers lacked sufficient information to justify the search. Justices ruled that illegal search affected the bargaining position surrounding Myers' overall plea agreement. The court encouraged clearer documentation when I love when AI writes that. The little after bit of information that we don't need to say on the air. Governor Mikey Sherrill highlighted free cybersecurity resources available to New Jersey local governments. The NJC CIC provides municipalities with threat intelligence, risk assessments, and incident response support. Participants also receive cybersecurity training, education, and enterprise-grade defense tools. The program provides round-the-clock monitoring to help detect and respond to cyber threats. Resources are available to counties, municipalities, and schools. More than 200 municipalities participate in the state-funded cybersecurity program. And Avalon temporarily extended a new bar's outdoor live music hours despite residents complaining about it. It's summertime down the shore. Come on. Gullies can now host outdoor music till 9 p.m., an hour later than previously allowed. The bar opened in May. It uses live music to attract customers. Nearby residents have complained the noise creates excessive problems during the evening. You want to have a little gathering in your backyard, and all you hear is Gully's noise. Gully's agreed to provide neighbors with a direct phone number for noise complaints. I don't know what to do. Performers also can't use large speakers that produce excessive noise under the agreement. So, that's tough. I get it, but it is what it is. The Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial announced a $24.25 million redevelopment project. The investment will transform the visitor experience and upgrade infrastructure in Camden. Plans include a new visitor center, parking structure, and improvements aboard the historic ship. The project represents the battleship's largest capital investment since becoming a museum. New Jersey awarded nearly $20 million through its Cultural Arts Facilities Expansion Program, and officials say the improvements will make things better for kids who want to come and get a little educational experience. And a new study ranked New Jersey beaches based on litter complaints from visitor reviews. Just Bottle, that's the name of the organization. It analyzed TripAdvisor reviews for mentions of trash, dirt, smells, and cigarette butts. The study compared cleanliness complaints with each beach's total number of reviews. Cape Beach received the highest frequency of cleanliness and litter complaints statewide. Gunnison Beach ranked second, followed by Wildwood Beach. It's the beaches in Wildwood, the Wildwoods. The findings highlight recurring concerns about visitors leaving trash behind. So look, if you bring trash to a beach, take it with you. Don't leave it on the sand for sure. At least find a garbage can to throw it out. The Indian American community in New Jersey, which is a big and growing community, set a Guinness World Record for the largest flagpole number. The achievement celebrated India's 80th Independence Day and America's 250th anniversary. The Consulate General of India partnered with the Federation of Indian Associations for the event. New Jersey leaders, community members, and Indian officials attended. Organizers said the event highlights strong people-to-people ties between India and America. For those who don't realize, India is the largest democracy on the planet Earth. We might be among the oldest, but they are the largest with 1.3 billion people. So there you go. It is now 8:13, and when we come back, we have more news for you. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the forecast in your community. Don't go away. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:15. Areas of patchy fog this morning, then partly cloudy today. This is going to be one of the better parts in the whole country to be in. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will explain.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
Man, oh man, Mike, usually I'm the biggest cheerleader for South Florida, but not
Mm,
today. I would tell
no,
you
yeah,
stay as far away as possible,
it's
even
so
right down
true.
to Georgia. Georgia and South
Right.
Carolina are going to be hot and sticky. It's just that whole
Most of
southeast.
the southeast, yeah, all of the southeast with that very, very humid, uncomfortable feeling, just swampy going through the next few days. Here in New Jersey, kind of a taste of what's happening down there with dew points very high, the humidity high, the visibility low in the last few hours. We've seen these numbers rise a little bit, but still quite a bit of fog out there on the roads, especially up there in the northwestern corner of the state where the clouds are starting to clear out, but we'll still have kind of a gray scene most of the morning. That is until we get to the afternoon when the sun returns and looks a little bit brighter. Temperatures, nevertheless, they're warming well into the 80s today. The humidity remains high and it stays warm over the next few days. High humidity, look at that down the shore, right into the 70s. That's very muggy weather through this afternoon. While it tries to dry out with a little bit of a northerly breeze this afternoon, it comes racing back in with humid weather tomorrow, especially down the shore where it stays quite muggy until Friday. Friday looks beautiful, lots of dry, comfortable conditions. It'll feel lovely, lots of sunshine, less humidity, but the weekend looks to be a bit wet, especially to start and then again to finish with more rain on the way by Sunday. So for today, UV index is at a 7, which is high, as we enter what is the kind of the tail end of the summer season. This is typically the type of sun we would see toward late April and early May. So still strong, but not as strong as it was back in June. Going into the next few afternoons, we have all of the clouds around today, partly sunny, like Ken mentioned, but tomorrow clears out nicely, especially early on. And then we have some rain that comes in by the afternoon with some wet weather to finish off our Thursday. Likely all clear and dry on Friday with a nice northerly breeze. Temperatures remain in check in the 70s and 80s. It'll feel great. And then by Friday night into Saturday, more rain comes in to start off the weekend. So it's a little bit wet by the time we start off this weekend. And that's what you see here on the weekend forecast. Rain both days, more heavier showers arriving for Sunday with that rain taking over even into the evening hours. So a bit of a wet weekend shaping up, Ken. Got to enjoy that Friday if you can.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. We do have a little bit of traffic to tell everybody about. 75 degrees northern New Jersey, 74 in Trenton, 70 in Cape May. A little cooler down by the shore there, way down. You get that little ocean breeze. And then it's 74 degrees now in Vineland. Some, let's see, crashes on well, what do we have here? Route 10. Crash investigation on Route 10, both directions in the vicinity of Murray Road, East Hanover. We have lanes closed in both directions. So that's an absolute mess. New Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur, we have northbound a crash north of interchange 15W. All lanes are open. Crashes off to the side, but you could see causing a little bit of a slowdown. There it is. So it must have been just between those vehicles. It's off to the side, not causing a major problem. That's a good news. The good news there. Another issue on the Turnpike. There is a crash westbound by the entrance ramp by 278, interchange 13 Elizabeth with the left lane blocked there. And then your Hudson River crossings, the Holland Tunnel, typical mess right now. It's going to cost you 45 minutes in, 139 approach from the Turnpike into the tubes, just bumper to bumper. Look at that. It almost, if you didn't see the local lanes on the right moving, you'd think this is a still picture. But I guess some rain hit the lens. So even though it's blurry, it's at least visible today. The other day, it was like invisible. It was just so much schmutz on the lens. Over to the Lincoln Tunnel approach, the Helix approach is very heavy. Today, it's about a 40-minute ride in. You can see that little slowdown. When the bus lanes get a little slow, that's when it's not good. This is not as bad as it was, but you can still see. You see right by the overhead is where then everybody hits their brakes there and just kind of stops. So that's going to cost you about 35 to 40. GWB upper and lower levels, your best bet. It's only about 30 minutes in right now. Not bad at all on the 8095 approach. Look at that. This is the back view, which is a good thing. When they show the back view, that means things are actually improving pretty well. So I bet you that's under 30 right now. That's a good deal. It is 8:20, and President Trump reportedly threatened military action against Oman if it interferes with U.S. negotiations. The United States and Oman are separately negotiating with Iran over reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the strategic waterway carries about a fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas, LNG. Iranian officials said that they're nearing an agreement with Oman regarding transit routes, but Trump says the U.S. maintains a back channel with Iran and the Revolutionary Guard. An Iranian official denies that talks are happening. Here's the problem. You have three different groups in Iran doing talks at the same time. So the fact that the president said we had a back channel with Iran's Revolutionary Guard, they're the ones we weren't communicating with before. We were communicating with the leaders. But the Revolutionary Guard believes it's sort of autonomous, or at least semi-autonomous. So it's actually a good thing that we're communicating with them. The leaders are the ones saying there are no back channel talks, but they haven't been able to get crap done. Every time we cut a deal with the leaders, everything gets reneged on 2 minutes later, and that's because the Revolutionary Guard controls the military. So those are the people we need to talk to. So don't be surprised if we come to some kind of an agreement now that we're communicating with the Revolutionary Guard. We'll see what happens. But right now, no matter what, I love how the media rushes right away to say what Iran's leaders are telling us, like their word is any more credible than the United States. Like you're going to believe the country that for 46 years has been an arch enemy of the U.S. Yeah, like it's in their best interest to be honest to you. Don't be a stupid stooge dupe, which is what you are, leftist mainstream media morons. It's 8:22. The Justice Department finalized a new process allowing some convicted felons to seek restored gun rights. Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the program Monday, following pressure from Second Amendment advocates. And remember, a recent Supreme Court decision from a couple of years ago that said that the Second Amendment is very definite in what it says. You cannot chisel away at the Second Amendment. So what had happened was in 1992, there was Congress had passed a law that said if you're a convicted felon, you lose your gun rights. Well, now it's going to be a case-by-case basis because it is a constitutional birth-given right. So it doesn't say anything in the Constitution about if you're a convicted felon, you forever automatically lose your gun rights. So now it'll be taken on a case-by-case basis. If you are a convicted felon, chances are if you killed, God forbid, a dozen people with a gun, you will likely not get your gun rights restored. And you could fight that till you die. They're not going to give that to you if you manage to get out of jail. But otherwise, if you are in for a minor felony and your gun rights were automatically removed, you can petition to have them restored. And chances are that you will get them restored because it is a Second Amendment guarantee in the Constitution. It's amazing how people on the left rush to defend birthright citizenship, stuff that says it's very obvious in the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution explain what happens if you're born here and who's allowed to be a citizen, etc. And then a Supreme Court, based on a lot of popular pressure, decides something that a lot of people scratch their heads on and say, really? That's not why we have that amendment of the Constitution. It was to grant citizenship to former slaves and to Native Americans. But yet they'll look at this. Not that I want convicted felons running around with guns. I'm just saying that if we're going to change the law, we need to change the law the right way. And you can't just have a simple law passed in Congress, just like you can't do it with birthright citizenship or changing birthright citizenship. This is what I'm trying to clarify here. 5 people were wounded in a shooting at Virginia State University early Saturday. Police arrested 19-year-old Cameron Harris, found hiding inside a residence hall. They determined that Harris was not a student there, so they don't know why he was on campus, if it was just some kind of a battle against somebody on the campus, and that's why he was there. A 21-year-old victim remained in critical condition following the shooting. 3 others had non-life-threatening injuries, and the whole university had to be locked down. This is as seniors were returning to class. So they were all coming in. They were with family members. Some family were sleeping over, and this had to happen. So this happened over the weekend, but they have the person they believe is responsible, the alleged shooter, We'll see what happens at this point. The House Ethics Committee confirmed an investigation into allegations involving Democratic Representative Jimmy Gomez. The bipartisan committee is reviewing allegations of inappropriate sexual contact with a House staffer. But they emphasize this is an investigation. This is not a conviction. You are innocent until proven guilty. Reports previously alleged that Gomez kissed a younger aide in an incident in 2023, but the committee has now reportedly discovered additional allegations while investigating the earlier claim. Gomez does acknowledge personal mistakes, but denied violating laws or House ethics rules. And President Trump said the United States will substantially reduce military exercises with South Korea. Trump had cited South Korea's refusal to participate in the U.S. conflict involving Iran. Now, you can look at this several different ways. We were supposed to, usually when you have military activities with another country, it's to get old military equipment. I think right now President Trump wants to hang on to our old military equipment because we've given so much to Ukraine and we've used so much in Iran that just as a backup until we produce more, it's probably not a bad idea to hang on to what we have and not just blow it up in the water in order to purchase new stuff. That's usually why we have war games. It's just to get rid of the old stuff. Might as well practice with it. And then that gives them an excuse to buy new stuff. It's incredible how expensive that is, over $1 trillion. But that's what we do to stay safe as a country. The Supreme Court declined to reconsider President Trump's appeal in E. Jean Carroll's case. It was the second time the court refused to hear Trump's appeal. A federal jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation in 2023 and awarded Carroll $5 million in damages following the trial. With interest, she ended up getting $5.62 million. And Selena Gomez and her mother face fraud allegations involving their mental health startup, Wondermind. Investors say that they invested nearly $1.2 million based on promises that did not materialize. The lawsuit alleges the company misrepresented its infrastructure and leadership, and they want their money back. Gomez's attorney calls the allegations baseless and said that they would seek dismissal of the charges. The co-founder, Daniela Pearson, also denied wrongdoing and says the financial records support her claim. An amazing thing happened in Phoenix, and the amazing thing is that nobody got killed. The Phoenix air traffic controller prevented a potential disaster involving two American Airlines aircraft. Both were given the same flight number, American 2482. So the controller figured it out at the last second. Otherwise, the two could have collided. Imagine that. That's amazing. You think with computers that could never happen. The FAA and American Airlines are investigating, trying to figure out how and prevent that from ever happening again. It's 8:28. When we come back, fraud losses are surging, but victims can face another financial blow after the scam, having to pay taxes on money they've already lost. We'll explain when we come back. Very good morning. It is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. We have a temperature of 75 degrees at 8:30. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Areas of patchy fog this morning, partly cloudy today, highs upper 80s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast near you.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
All right, Mike, this is sort of a typical mid-August day for the Northeast, right? There's nothing really unusual for us.
Yeah, it's true. And typically, Ken, in mid-August, we usually have a little more activity over in the tropics, but there's nothing. It's been quiet, nice and clear down in the Atlantic Basin, and you can thank a lot of that Saharan dust for that reason. But what is also typical through July and September, thanks to our friends over at Viking Pest Control, seeing a big uptick in the mosquitoes and ticks and lanternflies too. Those have been pretty common as the lanternflies are making a big comeback this summer into the end of the summer season. So our forecast today down toward the beaches. We started off very foggy and cloudy, but we'll ultimately see some sunshine breakthrough, giving us some hazy sunshine at best. With that, the bug meter back to the moderate level today because it's been so humid. Likely see a lot of those insects flying around, especially the mosquitoes. And grasses are a little bit higher thanks to those lawns being very, very well watered over the last few days. Notice the sunrise much later, sunset now 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. We're losing that daylight pretty quickly. A whole 20 minutes just in the last 2 weeks alone. So we're starting to enter that period of time of the year where we see the sunset so much earlier, more quickly, day by day. Water temperatures have warmed nicely into the mid 70s, and there's no risk of rip currents today, or at least a low risk down along the shore points, thanks to a calm breeze. By the time we get to Thursday, that's another round of wet weather through the afternoon. And then the weekend, seeing an uptick as well in rain heading into next week. But I think Monday turns nice and dry. So to put that into a map, you see all of the clouds that are around for today, clearing by this afternoon, getting a nice break in the clear sky. And tomorrow looks pretty decent until the end of the day. That's when some clouds are back in the BA by the afternoon, giving us some rain into Thursday. That clears out by Friday, starting off the end of the week, nice and dry and clear and beautiful. But then Saturday sees a quick turn with the rain returning, and that wet weather lasts into Sunday. So for the 7-day forecast, starts off wet, turns dry by Friday, and then quickly turns wet again for Saturday into Sunday, with a lot of rain forecast this weekend, specifically on Sunday, with all of those showers lingering. But the good news is it clears out just in time for Monday. Even the shore points cooler too by next week, only the upper 70s, so not terribly hot, Ken.
Like not terribly hot. That's definitely nice. Sunshine is good, strong sunshine when it's only in the 70s. That's the best time to go to the shore.
It
You
really
think it's
is. It's
chilly,
true.
right? But
Yeah.
you lay by the sand and you get a little breeze off the ocean, and the warm sun bakes on your skin, as you can see, and you don't get overly hot. But that's when you need
Hmm.
lots of sunscreen because that's the best way to burn yourself, right? Got to be careful. You
Hmm.
don't feel like you're getting sunburn, but you are on a
Right.
day like that.
Right.
But this is the best time to go and get some sun between now and mid-September. This is when it starts. Perfect. All right, Mr. Mike, thank you very much, sir. At 8:33, our temperature 75 degrees northern New Jersey, 74 Trenton, and it's 72 degrees now in Cape May. In terms of traffic, let's go over to the Turnpike, shall we? We have a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur northbound, north of interchange 15W by I-280 and Kearney. All lanes are open, but you can see things are kind of dense, kind of heavy as people go by. You can see the crash on the shoulder. It's on the left side of your screen, which is the right shoulder, and that's causing a little bit of a slowdown, just heavy traffic. All over to the Hudson River crossings right now. The Holland Tunnel approach 139 from the Turnpike is bumper to bumper. That's going to cost you. See the lanes that are stopped toward the middle of the screen where it says my name at the bottom? That is, you got 3 lanes there stopped from there to the right. So that is the left tube. And now you got the other tube stopped. Wow. So everything's just an absolute mess. We're told 45 minutes into the Holland Tunnel. Lincoln is a much better bet, although it is heavy. It is moving slowly. This is 495 into the Helix. You can see, it's actually much better than it even was. So we're told right now it's 25 to 30 into the Lincoln Tunnel. GWB upper and lower level. That's great. It's only about 15 to 20 right now, 80-95 approach. You'll see the upper level on the right, it's normally upper on the right. This is the reverse shot. So that's the lower level. Something's going on. I don't know why that lane is stopped. That must be something at the toll booth. But just beware of that. That is now a problem. So try to take the upper level if you can, making your way to the GWB. It is 8:35. Fraud losses are surging, but victims can face another financial blow after the scam, having to pay taxes on money that they've already lost. Yeah, that happens. A bipartisan bill in Congress, a Tax Relief Fraud Victims Act, aims to change how the tax code treats fraud victims. And joining us is Courtney Werning, principal at Meyer Wilson Werning, to explain the current rules, what the bill could change, and what victims should know now. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, nice to have you on. It's something people really don't think about, but you become a victim in essence twice that way, don't you?
Yeah, I represent basically victims of investment fraud or investment misconduct. And for the most part, these people are usually seniors. And when they're investing in an investment fraud scam, oftentimes this money is coming from a retirement account, a rolled over 401k, an IRA. And what happens is they may take $100,000 out to invest in the scam. Well, come April, they get a bill from the IRS for that taxable IRA distribution in the tax deferred account. So what HR 9500 is set to do is to restore that theft loss deduction for victims of Ponzi schemes, pig butchering, identity theft, things like that, to help these people sort of get back on their feet so they're not slammed with a tax bill after they've already lost a significant amount of their life savings.
How about we have a law that makes it so punitive for somebody or a group that rips off the elderly in these schemes that they will be less likely to try doing it? It's just all we hear about is so many elderly people being terrified into something or coaxed into something as the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you could pay for your grandkids' college this way, and they get duped into it because they're trusting. They come from a more trusting generation. People surely wouldn't do this, and it's all electronic. It's got to be on the up and up. And then they get ripped off. It would be nice to have laws enacted that would be a little more serious on the offenders.
Yeah. And it is an extremely big problem, like one that I would actually call a public health crisis. I think the 2025 numbers just for senior fraud reached almost $8 billion. Much of that was cryptocurrency losses. And I think you're right in that the problem is that it's a trusting generation, people who still answer their phones, people who trust institutions and sort of believe in the handshake and a promise. And so that's where the schemers go. That's where the fraud goes. And then out of these retirement accounts is where these tax problems arise. And now the IRS code did have this particular deduction written into its code for a very long time, pre-2017, when we saw the rollback in the tax code. So this has really only been a problem since 2017, and this new bill is going to fix that.
Thank goodness. That's the first step. That's a good thing. But I am glad also that society-wise, you have like supermarkets and drugstores now. If you go to buy a gift card, if it's more than a $150 gift card, the stores near me will ask, did anybody ask you to buy these gift cards? Is there a reason you're buying these gift cards? And at first I thought it was a little invasive, and then I realized what they were doing. It's because of all the scams on the phone with the senior citizens saying that I have your nephew here, and if you don't send us $1,000 in gift cards, we're going to, you'll never see him again, and things like that. Or the IRS needs to have $1,000 in payments immediately with, gift cards to name your store. Like you would
That's
think
right.
who would
And
fall
when
for
you're
that?
getting that good of a care by a Target store manager for the gift card scam, where I come in is usually when a client did not get that due care coming out of a fiduciary investment advisor or a brokerage firm or a bank or some other financial institution. So you're right in that these seniors need protected from all types of scams, the gift card scams and the bigger pig butchering romance scams.
So that's what the next question then is. At what point do you know to you or say to yourself, I need a professional to help me out here? This is something I can't handle on my own.
Well, there's the vast majority of retirees do rely on investment advisors or financial advisors, either a commission-based stockbroker agreement or a fiduciary financial advisor. And whether that's something you need, which side you need, really depends on sort of your own facts and circumstances. But what's good about that relationship is then you have another layer of oversight, right? If grandma or grandpa go to their broker and they say, I need $150,000 for a cryptocurrency investment, that's another layer of protection where hopefully the financial institution steps in. They have tools they can use, the trusted contact rule, the temporary disbursement hold, to say, hey, this doesn't look quite right. Let's just hold this for a minute, because once the money leaves, it's gone forever. I mean, the goal is to stop it from leaving in the first place.
Well, Courtney, there we go. The next question. If someone's already lost that money to the scam and they paid taxes already, what should they do at that point? Can they get that tax money back?
Well, assuming that this bill goes forward, which I think it will, it's got really good bipartisan support. Hopefully, we'll see some movement by the end of the year on the Senate side. Keep all your documentation. If you're going to claim the deduction, you're going to need to be able to prove, hey, I lost this money. And I do believe the IRS is going to audit these deductions, at least at the outset. So keep all your paperwork to ensure that you can prove that you were the victim of a fraud. There is some movement on the House side to try to get it to be retroactive, going back to like 2021, to help the people who haven't been able to be helped yet. So even those victims have the potential to amend prior returns under this new bill. So having the paperwork to do that so you can support the deduction is what's going to be important.
Brilliant. What is a website for more information, Courtney?
You can go to my website at investorclaims.com. You can contact me directly there, and we can always have a chat about your options, what happened to you, to see if there's something that we can help you with.
I love it. I love what you're doing, and it's just all too prevalent. This is happening more and more often. So thank you for raising the alarms, or ringing the alarms for everybody to know about it. Courtney Werning, principal at Meyer Wilson Werning. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. It is 8:42. When we come back, coffee. Oh, do I love my coffee? Coffee is getting a serious ice cream truck makeover. We're going to talk with the director of brand strategy from Java Factory. Areas of patchy fog this morning, partly cloudy skies today, highs in the upper 80s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta's full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:45. We'll take calls at 888-658-0234. A little patchy fog in some areas this morning. Partly cloudy skies today. Highs upper 80s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the full Garden State forecast.
Weather is brought to you by Viking Pest Control. Visit vikingpest.com.
All right, Mike, let's have it. Let's have it. It's not so bad.
Oh,
Here, is it?
really? Expecting another beautiful afternoon after the cloudy start, but it's the humidity that remains rather high, and there's enough humidity going into tomorrow that we could pick up words up to an inch of rainfall with the rain that comes in later on this week, especially on Thursday. It's not helping the tick or mosquito situation across New Jersey, even as we enter the second half of August. Spotted lanternflies becoming a big problem, but look at northern New Jersey picking up more than 200% of their rainfall, average rainfall, over the last month. So certainly not dry, and it will stay kind of wet going into the rest of this week with just over the season, it's slightly drier than usual across northern New Jersey. But again, this updates every week, and I think we'll see a big improvement even with the drought ending across most of the state, thanks to all of the recent rainfall. Northern New Jersey today wraps up the afternoon sunny once the clouds break for some breaks of sun. And then by the end of the month, we'll likely see a little bit higher chances of rain across most of New Jersey. That's that light tinge of green, and even with the slightly below average temperatures, that's a nice change. Apart from all of the heat and humidity down across the south and west, it'll look great going into the second half of the month. So a better forecast ahead, especially with the drier weather forecast for Friday, the pick of the week after a little bit of sunshine, but very humid and muggy tomorrow. So be aware of that. I think by Saturday and Sunday, while it looks deceivingly dry, there's actually some rain that comes in throughout Saturday morning and afternoon, and Sundays it's pretty much a washout. But Monday turns dry, even at the beaches, with cooler weather ahead. Temperatures only in the upper 70s to start off next week. That'll feel nice for the last week of August, Ken. Say it ain't so. Month is just flying by.
No, here's what this is where we have to take the show, being that this is
Okay.
internet based, we could do it anywhere. This is where we all
Sure.
go to South America or Australia, and we start. This is springtime we're coming into. We start all over
Yeah.
again, springtime in South America, right?
So it's just perpetually summer.
That's it. It'll be spring, summer, spring, summer, spring, summer all the time. Don't even have fall. Just do spring, summer. I used to dream about that. I used to say, "Oh, Pam is screaming in the ear. I want fall, winter, fall, winter." I used to think to myself, if I had the money, I would do that every year. I would say the second,
Ah,
like September 1st comes, I would fly to Argentina or I would fly to, Brisbane, and that would be 6 months. Enjoy.
we
That's
changed
it.
the name of the show from Mornings with Ken Rosato to Good Day, Mate. Right? It would have to fit the theme.
And
Have
why
little
not? We would
kangaroos
do the
hopping in
show
the
in the middle of the
background.
night. Yeah, it
We can
would be
interview
like,
Bluey and Bingo, that very popular with the kids, right? We increase the demographic scope.
can be done. Why have we not done this yet? This is something we have to work on. All right, Mike, we appreciate you, sir. I
You
will see
bet.
you tomorrow. Thank you
See you
very
then.
much. You bet. It is 74 degrees, northern New Jersey, 76 degrees now in Trenton, and getting hotter quickly. I've got another 11 or 12 degrees to go. And at 8:48, we look at traffic. We have an issue right now on the Turnpike. This has been going on for a while. This is a crash on the eastern spur, northbound, north of interchange 15 WI 280 in Kearney. All lanes are open, but you can see the amount of traffic built up as people pass the vehicles off to the side. So there were two vehicles. It was a truck and a car. The car is gone. So it's just down to the truck, but still people slowing down as they pass. We go over to the Garden State Parkway and we have delays and stop and go traffic, not due to a crash, just really volume. And this is northbound south of exit 135 Central Avenue in Clark. And it goes for about a mile and a half to 136. You can see everybody down. I guess the damp roadways have something to do with that. Everybody's down to about 15 to 20 miles an hour as they make their way through there. Also on I-280, there are delays westbound at I-80 in Parsippany Troy Hills. All lanes open, just slow. We go over to the Hudson River crossings, the Holland Tunnel approach 139 from the Turnpike into the tubes. You can see bumper to bumper on the lanes that are toward the middle right. That goes to the left tube, and that is just absolutely stopped right now. The lanes that are moving are the ones going to the local roads. So that's what you have there. Over to the Lincoln Tunnel approach, much better right now to the Helix. That's still a little slow making your way in, but it is moving. It's only going to cost you about 20 minutes in. GWB upper and lower levels, really good. We had some problems by one right lane with the lower level, which is what you're looking at there to the right of your screen. Apparently, there's a disabled vehicle by the toll booths for the lower level. And that's causing a little slowdown. Once you get past that, it's moving well. The upper level on the left is moving just fine. All in all, about 15 minutes into Manhattan on average. It's 8:50 right now. Coffee getting a serious ice cream truck makeover. Java Factory is launching its second Flavor 52 collection, bringing 9 weeks of limited edition coffees inspired by some of America's favorite frozen treats. Joining us is Justin Skirbo, Director of Brand Strategy at Java Factory, to talk about the ice cream truck season and the year-long Flavor 52 flavor adventure. Good morning. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken. Pleasure to be here.
You bet. Nice to have you here. So this sounds incredible. Two of my favorite things on the planet. I drink about a quart of coffee a day. Don't tell my cardiologist. And I love ice cream and always have. So what inspired Java Factory to bring the ice cream truck experience into coffee?
Absolutely. So we at Java Factory are the masters of flavored coffee. We've been doing it for over 14 years, and we really wanted to make a splash with this new activation we're doing called Flavor 52. And it's 52 weeks of 52 different flavors of coffee, one released every single week for the next year. And as we're leading into season 2, this is called Ice Cream Truck. This is going to be a major series of collaborations that we're doing with some brand favorites like Klondike and Good Humor. And really, we just want to bring a lot of new innovation and creativity to the coffee space. You know, in other consumer packaged goods like potato chips or ice cream, we see so much creativity with flavors, and we just want to bring that same energy for coffee.
So what do we expect when we come into Java Factory? What are we going to see? A specialty sign with all the different flavors, and you're going to mix in the ice creams?
That's exactly right. Think Willy Wonka, right? Yeah, so we just want to create something really, really interesting with each of the different flavors that we're doing. So, like I said, it's going to be a mix of both like major brand collaborations like Klondike, but then also making some original flavors that are Java Factory originals. We've got a whole team of flavor scientists that are trying to make something really unique and interesting every single week.
I love that. And it was important to do something different every week, right? So that it didn't just get boring for people.
Well, that's it. When you're trying to do something as ambitious as launching a new flavor of coffee for an entire year, you want to be able to hold people's attention from week to week. So, what we did was we collected them into different seasons. Like we mentioned, our next season coming up is Ice Cream Truck, and it's all themed around that. But we want to basically be able to carry people's excitement throughout, this entire experience and really start to refresh people's interest in coffee and show them something new and different every step along the way.
I love that. And consumers get to vote on their favorite flavors too, right? So how do the votes shape the future Java Factory lineup?
That's exactly right. So every season we're running a leaderboard where anyone who's picking up the flavors and trying them for the first time, they can go to javafactory.com and vote on which of the flavors in that season was their favorite. And one of those flavors is going to be chosen to be a permanent flavor in the Flavor 52 collection. So we definitely encourage everyone to try out all of the different flavors, find something that really speaks to you, and cement its place in coffee flavor history.
How do the season passes work with you guys?
Yeah, so each season, like we said, is collecting about 8 to 9 different weeks of coffees. And if you go to javafactory.com, you would be able to see sort of like a teaser of what that next season is going to be. And you can either pre-order the entire season, pick them up one box at a time, or we have our VIP collection, which is joining us for the entire flavor journey, which means every week you would receive a new flavor and basically be able to try the entire Flavor 52 experience from beginning to end.
I love that. And being a dedicated coffee holic as I am, I just love the fact that you folks are so in love with what you do and really make coffee an experience as opposed to just kind of part of the day to day. I got to have my cup of coffee in the morning. You make it something to look forward to and something exciting.
Well, that's exactly it. I feel like coffee has been a pretty, stable industry for a while. There's a lot of like, the go-to flavors, your hazelnut and your French vanilla. But what we wanted to do is really shake it up, make every morning exciting so that when you go down, to your Keurig and you're, choosing your coffee for the morning, we want to give you something exciting, make those mornings something really interesting and different. And we
Ha-
hope that Flavor 52 is able to bring that energy and carry it across this entire experience.
Are there certain flavors though that are just the mainstays that people always have as a go-to?
Oh, for sure. So, Java Factory as a brand, we have a bunch of our established flavors like blueberry shortcake and things like pistachio. And, a lot of different flavor combinations is really what our specialty is. So, those are going to be stable forever. Flavor 52 is something very unique where this time they're all limited edition flavors. So, you get to try each one along the way. And then, like we said, you get to vote on which ones stay permanent. So if there's a flavor that you really like, make sure that you vote at Flavor Factory or javafactory.com. And yeah, definitely check out the rest of our stock to see what other flavor combinations might speak to you.
Justin, the first thing that came to mind when I read this was like the Jelly of the Month Club, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I mean that in
No, I
in
know
a
exactly what
good
you mean.
way. Same thing like Wine of the Month, because normally you wouldn't take the time. Like you'd think in the back of your mind, maybe I'll do that, but then you don't get to it. Having
Yeah.
this kind of forces you to try something different. Who knows? You may find this whole new flavor you never thought of that becomes your favorite new coffee. And then boom, you have something that you'll love for years. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And that's why we think the season pass holders for each of these different steps along the way are going to have such a unique and awesome experience because they get to have that sort of refreshed, coffee palette every single week. And, most people don't think about like, what does ice cream flavored coffee taste like? But I promise you,
Right.
we have put together some of the most interesting and unique flavors that you've ever tried.
That's awesome. I mean, I think back if what would have happened if not for the individuals in the Andes who had those beans on a plant and said, "Gee, I wonder what'll happen if we dry them and then roast them and then grind them and then put water on them and then taste them and they'll be bitter and we'll make something." I mean, there were so many steps before a freaking cup of coffee came out of it, if you think about it, and yet it is the most delicious and addictive thing in the world. But yet if not for the inspiration by those individuals, how many years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation right now, would we?
It really is unbelievable. And it's something that I feel like everybody's so passionate about, whether, your makers like us or if you just enjoy a cup of coffee every day. And that's why, we want to be able to, continue to have that fresh and exciting experience and really, elevate coffee as we know it.
Well, I happen to be, as I mentioned at the top, a coffeeholic, and I love what you guys are doing. I think you're fantastic, and I want you to just, as great as you are right now, I want you to go and just be so huge that everywhere we turn, we see you. What's a website for more information, Justin?
For sure. So it's javafactory.com or flavor52.com. You can check out all of the flavors that we've released so far, see which our limited edition flavors are still available. And if you want to join the journey, you can go to flavor52.com and sign up for a season pass and, check out everything that's on the way.
Well, I'm there already. Just so you know, I'm not kidding. I'm there already on your website. You see, I'm not lying. Justin Skirbo, Director of Brand Strategy at Java Factory. Thank you so much for coming on this morning and come back again, please.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate the time.
You bet. Have a great day. Oh man, that's it. Their stuff is great. I love the fact that they're doing all the different flavors. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says some patchy fog this morning, partly cloudy today, highs upper 80s, and that is on New Jersey mornings for your Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. I'm Ken Rosato. See you again tomorrow morning.